What's up, guys? Welcome to round 6. I was black. I was playing against Kevin Sue, another kid. I'm not exactly sure how old, probably like middle school age, if I had to guess, maybe high school. I'm not sure. But 2090, he was white, I was black, and let's go. So E4, I didn't get a chance to play the King's Indian again. It seems like everybody's playing E4 against me as white in this tournament, which is unfortunate because I wanted to play King's Indian, but I'm just going with the Pircs because I can't force them to play D4, obviously. So knight C3, G6. He played G3. I'm not really super familiar with this setup in the Pircs. Kettering the bishop, and then you're going to see he put his knight on E2. So I'll have to look at this in more detail later. But for now, I just went with the kind of standard approach: bishop G7, castles, knight B to D7. Engine doesn't mind this setup, so I think that was fine. And then E5. Yeah, Engine is okay with all this stuff so far. So I was expecting like D5. I thought he was going to lock up the center, but he decided not to, just played H3. And I played Rook E8. I was thinking, okay, maybe we can take here and get some ideas along the E file. Also opens up F8 for my knight if I want to relocate it to like E6. Bishop E3, and I decided, okay, let's go ahead and take and, try to play a game where this bishop on G7 isn't actually stuck and blocked behind a bunch of pawns. So I was just going to open things up there. So he took with the bishop, which I think was the correct way. It puts pressure, right back at my bishop, so kind of counteracts that. And also just kind of monitors this diagonal too. If I want to bring my knight somewhere, the bishop has options for trading. So I played knight F8. I just wanted to relocate it potentially to E6. Also think about at some point letting this bishop out, maybe like bishop D7. I have to be careful because there is some pressure here. And you're going to see later why I couldn't immediately play bishop B7, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So F4 and knight E6. I wanted to get that bishop out of D4. Okay, bishop E3, and now I really wanted to play bishop D7 because I'm like, I need to finish my development. This bishop would be better along this diagonal. Then my rook could come over. The problem is if I play bishop D7 now, he's going to play E5, and where's my knight going to move? Check it out. Oh, sorry. Check it out. I just took away like all the squares that my knight could potentially move to, and unless I want to go to like H5 or something, but then G4, and it's just trapped. And so this was the problem that I had with developing this bishop, right? The knight just had no squares to move to. So I'm not sure if the way that I approached this was correct because of that. It seems kind of awkward. Engine says I'm fine. So, as far as Stockfish is concerned, it's not a big deal, but I didn't like it because I just couldn't finish developing. So I had to come up with another move. So I played Queen E7. I figured maybe at some point there could be some tactics along this file. And so I didn't really know what else to do. And then he plays G4, and I was like, whoa, okay, so he's not afraid. He's obviously going to start trying to attack me somehow with one of these pawn pushes. And I do have to be careful because my knights are a little bit jammed up. Like I just showed you how there wasn't a lot of squares for this knight. So this was, I think I thought quite a bit at this moment. Let's see, G4. Yes, so I spent about 15 minutes thinking here, which is a pretty long time. And I decided that I needed to play C6. And basically, there's all sorts of like I said, if I move this, first of all, the knight's trapped. But also, there's tactics with this bishop, losing this pawn. And then the more important thing is knight to D5. So this is a very scary move if I don't play C6. So like after this happens, or even E5, this knight moves, the knight can come into D5. I have to watch out for potential forks after this knight gets chased away. My queen has to, it's just really complicated, and I didn't like knight to D5. So I played C6, and Engine says that was the best move. So he plays F5, and at this point I had to make a decision, a critical decision of, do I trade pawns first and then move my knight, or do I just move it right away? And I was afraid of moving it right away. So for example, let's say I tried to go someplace like knight C5. I was afraid that this was going to happen. G5. Sorry, wait, was this the move I was afraid of? No, this was a line that I looked at. I wasn't afraid of this. So G5 I was going to take here. And initially I was afraid of F6. But then I was like, wait a second. F6, I can just take it because I have the attack on the bishop. So I should be fine. And then if he takes here first, I'm going to take here with my pawn. And again, I have like lots of pieces that I can take here. And so I'm actually okay tactically. So I was okay with that. The move I was afraid of, I think maybe was bishop F4, attacking this pawn. And I was like, now I don't know what to do because Now I have to deal with this. I also have to watch out for this fork. And I guess Engine is saying I can just take this. Takes. And I'm okay. Wow, okay. Yes, I missed something here because I don't know why. In my head that I had to take this first. And looking at it now with the Engine, it's like, no, you didn't. You could have just moved your knight. Anyway, that probably would have been better because you're going to see what happened later in the game. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I thought I had to take it. I was wrong. So he took it back this way. And now I had a really tough decision. Again, where do I move this knight? I have kind of three options. Knight f8, knight c7, knight c5. They're all kind of different. And I couldn't really figure out which one was the best. I kept going back and forth in my mind. Finally decided one of these two. And then again, I went back and forth. And how long did I spend on this move? Yeah, like another 15 minutes trying to figure out what to do here. So knight c5, I was afraid of this move, bishop to d4. So he's got to save the bishop, right? Because I'm attacking the bishop. But after bishop d4, what am I going to do? Because the threat for him is g5, f6, forking my pieces. I have to do something, so I can't really leave this here. So I thought, okay, I'll bring my knight into e4. But then I was thinking he could do something like take. After I take, and then after I take, something like queen d4 check. And I don't know, it just seemed pretty scary. It seemed like, yes, I can move this, but then maybe f6 happens, the rook's involved, my knight, maybe knight f4. I didn't know, but I didn't like it. So after a lot of thought, lines related to that, there was all sorts of different variations of that, but lines related to that scared me. And I said, let's go with knight c7, because this way I can play knight to d5 instead of knight to e4, which, and by the way, Engine doesn't really care. It says both of these moves are fine. So anyway, knight c7. He plays bishop f4, attacking this pawn. I was expecting that. Knight f to d5. So this was my plan. Block off the queen. That's how this pawn gets saved. Opens up my bishop. This is a threat here. If the knight tries to move, I can take this in some of these lines. So he took it with the bishop, and I took with the pawn. I think I have to take with the pawn. Let me check that with the Engine. Nope, I didn't. Engine says knight takes is better. So in my mind, I was thinking if I take with the knight, he's taking here. And I can't take here because he's got this move, knight c7. And I'm forked. Yes, there's a queen trade or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I'm still forked at the end of it. So yeah, Engine says that's correct. So what did I miss? There must have been a line that I missed here. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to analyze this before I'm doing this. So if I take with the knight, he takes. What's my move? Oh, just taking? Huh. Yeah, I thought that this was not going to be as good, trading off those knights. Okay, I guess that's fine too. Anyway, I thought I had to take with the pawn and leave the knights on the board, so I took that way. It turned out to not really matter, because after knight g3, bishop d7, he decided to just take, and we ended up trading those knights anyway, but I didn't know he was going to take this. I actually was happy that he took this pawn, because prior to this, I'm kind of jammed up, right? Like, this bishop doesn't have much of a future. Double isolated pawns, like, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be pretty weak. After he took it, he took, I played bishop c6, and I'm like, okay, now I've got something happening. Like, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm down a pawn, and yes, he can take another pawn, but I was totally happy if he was going to take this. I was going to play queen h4. Yeah, Engine says this is great. And basically what's happening is he's got to defend this, but he also has to worry about this move. And I have this. I have threats of my rooks coming down. I have threats of my bishop going to d4 check. And you can just see there's going to be some tactic that pops up eventually. So that was going to be really good. But he didn't take it. He went back to d2. And I think this was kind of like the moment in the game where I was losing. And then right after this, knight takes d5. Takes. Now it's like, okay, now we're equal. And I'm starting to have signs of life. So feeling pretty good here. Queen to d2. And I wanted to take this pawn because it's just a pawn and I'm attacking the rook. But I was afraid that if I did that, he's going to come here, attacks my queen. I would have to do something like queen f6. And I don't know why, in my mind, I just thought this was going to be really bad, like g5, f6, or maybe knight h5, or I wasn't sure. Engine just wanted me to trade. Queen d4, takes, king h2. And it's just saying it's equal. 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, equal endgame. Okay, that's what happened. Now I'm remembering. So the reason that I didn't want to do that was because I didn't want to trade queens. Because I felt like, look at his king. And look at my bishop. I don't want to trade queens. I want to like do something to like checkmate over here. So that's why I didn't like that line. Engine said I should have just went for it. So because of that, I played d5. My plan was open up this for the queen, push this after that, and then go to d5. Create this battery, come over here, and get some checkmate threats. He played c3. I played queen c5 check. Engine likes this. He went here. And now I didn't follow through with my plan. The plan all along was to play d4, let him take it, and then play queen d5 and go for this, right? And for some reason I said, no, I think I want to prepare it, bring my rook over first so that I have, you know, an extra piece before I do that. This was a bad move. This was a big mistake. So if you would like to pause, what do you think my opponent played now that was a very strong move? And I completely missed this one. You had a chance to do that. The move he played was f6, and it's a really good move. It's like so good for so many reasons. Number one, it opens up this square for his knight, right? His knight really didn't have too many great options. Now knight f5 is like a really nasty threat that I have to be careful of. Number two, if I take it, it also opens up the rook, so now I have to watch out for the rook, right? Number three, if I don't take it, he completely just shut down my bishop from participating in the game, unless I want to go like back here, which looks really bad. So I kind of have to take it, and I did. This is what I did. The problem is now he has a discovered attack with his bishop wherever he wants. I was expecting bishop c7, and it looked pretty weird. I was thinking about playing here, and Engine says the only move I had was bishop b5, which is like, wow, what a move. I don't think I would have played that. Anyway, he played even better move than that, bishop to g5, because he's still creating the attack. He's also got this lined up if I try to move my bishop away like this. And if I take it, then I'm just getting like mated. Check, and yeah, it's really bad. Wherever I go, it doesn't matter. Like this one, there's rook takes f7, king f8. I think, what is it, queen h6 check probably? Yeah, queen h6, and I'm just lost, completely lost. So basically I have no good moves. Like nothing. There's just nothing good to do. I played bishop g7, which is one of the top engine moves. Engine moves are saying bishop e7 and bishop g7. You got to retreat the bishop, otherwise you're going to just take it. But there's just no good move. So I'm like, well, I'll just sack the exchange. Maybe this bishop can help me do some checkmate ideas later. And, you know, I don't know what else to do. So I took that. And then he played another good move, queen g5. I got to do something about my rook. He's also threatening to play knight f5. Remember this square that's now open, right? And just checkmate me. Or even knight h5. Also, the rook is involved, so I have to watch out for things there. And so, yeah, I think I messed up. No, I didn't mess up. I played one of the top engine moves. Yeah, engine says only move is f6 or queen d6. That's what I played, queen d6, to defend this. I was pinning his knight because I didn't want the knight to come in and checkmate me over here, right? So I thought, okay, queen d6 deals with both threats. It defends my rook, pins the knight. And then he plays another top engine move, rook f4. Blocks the pin. And I don't have any good moves. Yeah, engine says h6 is the best move. That's what I played. But it just loses. I mean, it doesn't lose, but he can simplify the game with a tactic. If you want to pause, this is a good learning opportunity. What do you think white played here? And if you're ready to see the solution, it's queen takes g7. I have to take, obviously, only move. And then the idea is that the knight can come in, forking these guys. And basically, he just simplified the game, and he's up the exchange, right, that I sacrificed earlier, but now I'm just down in exchange, which is a lost, this is a lost endgame. So, and also at this moment, I only had, let's see, what move was this? Rook takes d6. Yeah, this was move 31, so I still had to make 9 more moves, and I only had like 8 minutes left. So I didn't have a lot of time to like try to figure out if there was a way to somehow create a fortress with my bishop and pawns. So I played here. I played f6 just so it's defended. Rook here, so now the rook is going to try to infiltrate. Played bishop here. I was trying to see if I could relocate the bishop to e4, because then it's kind of like blocking off some of this file, and it seems like a really nice square. Problem is I just didn't have time to do that, because he plays rook e7. I have to deal with this pawn first. If I go for that, I'm just losing all my pawns over here, right? So I played rook back. He just traded. And again, now I'm down to like 2 minutes. I don't really have time to think through much here. I still have to make quite a few moves. I played a6. I didn't know. You know, sometimes you can get draws in these types of positions if you can get like a really nice fortress with your bishop and pawns and the rook can't do anything and the king can't do anything. But the problem is his king can very easily walk over and go wherever it wants. His rook can also do whatever it wants, and my bishop's very passive. My king is kind of cut off. I can't really do much. So there wasn't anything to do here. I played some more moves, and this was a really nice move on his part, solidifying this as a long-term weakness. Eventually, that rook is going to be able to attack that. I just couldn't stop it. So I played f5, and then I had to make one more move. I had like a minute on the clock. I just played king f6. Rook to d4, good move again. Just going for my pawn. I don't really have anything to do. So I took this. He took here, and yeah, I'm just completely losing. I took this, it doesn't matter. The problem is, the reason I'm losing, by the way, I should probably explain some of this because it's a little bit tricky. So if I don't take this, I need to figure out a way to defend this pawn, right? The only option I have is using the bishop or using the king. If I use the bishop here, well, then this pawn is going to get captured. So I could use the bishop here. The pawn's still going to get captured, and if I take it, then I'm still losing my pawn. And then the only other way to defend this pawn is if I do this, and then he also just takes here. So either way, I'm going to be losing a pawn if I don't try to trade them first. So that's why I took here. But he doesn't even take it and let me try to build a fortress. He just takes here, which is a really nice way to finish off the game. He's attacking the bishop. If I take the pawn now, I lose my bishop. I can try to get a queen, but it's too slow. The rook goes back, and he just wins because he can take everything. So I can't do that. That's why I threw in this move, but now he goes here. Remember this pawn we talked about earlier? It's now going to be captured. I can't stop it. And, you know, even though I can take this, it doesn't matter. His king is just going to stop it, right? So there's nothing to be done. So I did take it. He went there. I have to get out of the pin if I want to use my bishop. Doesn't really matter. He takes that. Played one more move, and then I just resigned here because this pawn is not going anywhere. This is going down. I can't stop it. I mean, temporarily, but he's just going to use his rook to support it and then get a queen. And I can't, my king's too far. So yeah, that was a tough game. I mean, the guy played really well. I got to give him a lot of credit. Let's go check the game review. But I think it was really well done on his part. Sorry. What am I trying to do? Where's it at? There we go. Having a moment there. Okay, so he's white. He had 89, and I was 81.7. Let's see what his brilliant move was. Oh, queen takes g7. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, oh, sorry. That's the brilliant move when he sacked the queen and had the knight fork. Anyway, rough game. Let me flip this back to my side. Rough game, but I don't know. The kids these days are like really sharp. I mean, they're just really good at tactics. Like he saw most of this stuff faster than I did because I was spending more time. And yeah, I mean, I guess I had one chance in this game and I blew it. One chance. Yeah, when I played Rook D8, I guess was one thing. But even before that, my bigger chance, I think, was right here. Instead of D5, if I would have just taken and went for the queen trade, you know, who knows what would have happened. Maybe a draw in the end game, but would have been better than losing. But anyway, I'm kind of getting used to this losing feeling. It feels weird to say that, but it is what it is. Chess is tough. 8 years is a long time, and I'm realizing that. Also, I will point out, I'm still learning these openings, and so I expected there to be a little bit of learning curve. Like, I'm not an expert on this Pirc yet. I don't even have all the theory memorized that I talked about in the course. All right, so I still have work to do, but this is one of the best ways to figure it out. Like, play it in long time control tournaments. You think about it so much that when you go back and analyze it later, your brain like picks up on things that you wouldn't otherwise pick up on. So even though I'm losing some games, I'm losing some points, I think long term this is going to be a good decision. And what I may end up doing, I haven't decided this yet. I'll decide after this tournament. I may start to only play the King's Indian against d4. I think it's a little bit better. And then, you know, against e4, I'll just play like e5 or Scandinavian like I like to play or something like that. I think that might be a better choice. But we'll see. I'm going to analyze these later when I have more time by myself, you know, just at home. Anyway, it is what it is. I still have 3 rounds to go, so I'm gonna do the best I can on those. And I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a thing or two. And I'll see you soon.